Let's be real, life is messy. We all wrestle with loneliness, guilt, and shame.
Having a supportive community and the right resources can make all the difference.
That's why we started Healing Unscripted.
We're just three friends on a mission to bring hope and healing.
Whether you're struggling yourself or walking alongside someone who is,
we're diving deep into the hard stuff.
With insightful guests, real talk,
and a whole lot of heart. Join us on Healing Unscripted.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jen. Welcome back to Healing Unscripted. And we are so excited to be your local community recovery and mental health podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liana. And today we are gifted with the presence of Melina from Lift Up, our local Lift Up food bank. And she is the board president of Lift Up, but she has like an amazing story of all the things you do. Thank you for coming here. And I'm so excited that you're here.
Thanks for having me. We always ask our guests, how did you get to Steamboat? Your story sounds incredible. So tell us how you got to Steamboat and how that kind of ties into the position that you're in today.
Yeah, absolutely. So we relocated here just coming up on 5 years or so. And I'd been a single parent in Washington State for 5 or 6 years and really had a good groove going and with my 2 kiddos. And then life always throws you curveballs. And in this case, it was meeting my husband. And
Good curveball.
it was a good curveball.
Yeah. Hold on. How many kids does he have?
3.
So he has 3, you have 2.
Mhm.
Okay, almost the Brady
Almost
Bunch.
a Brady
Uh-huh.
Bunch, yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
all
Boys, girls, what? Okay.
So there's
Love
we've got 3 boys, and in December, even though none of them are duplicates, just the way it pencils out in December for about 20 days, they're all the same age.
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
That's
So
cool.
we've got
That is-
2 7th grade girls and then 2 5th grade boys and a 4th grade boy. So we relocated out here. Super lucky to get a job with CSU Extension, which was wonderful. It was the best people on the planet to work with. And what was shocking was just what everybody already knows here, and that's cost of living. Housing issues, not just in cost, but there's no housing available, even if you can afford something. And so we got very, very fortunate to find a small place just out in South Route, and it was an immediate everything broke, like the boiler broke, the heater went out, and it was that huge, almost 500 inches
man.
of snow winter, which
Oh,
Of course.
that's a shock to a Washington girl for sure.
Yeah.
We got faced with a lot of stuff, and that included my husband he is a veteran, and he does have quite a few physical ailments and disabilities, and we found ourselves getting just buried with medical costs. The costs of groceries here are like 30% higher than average.
Yeah.
And it just piled on, and we got to Thanksgiving and we had nothing. We had, 2 people with incomes and no food and definitely no turkey, and just kind of got to a spot where we'd both been in our professional lives the helpers and the facilitators of help and always been very, very independent on our own. And now we were together and looking around us going, we don't have anything and we have no way of getting out of this. And I mean, if you really, really boiled it down, it would have had to be a decision to separate our family again and move back to Washington to be able to afford to live.
wow.
So we made the decision to reach out to Lift Up, and I wasn't really sure what I'd encountered. I'd worked in human services my whole life, and it's always a gamble. You never know. It's a new place, new faces, and just the level of compassion and dignity that I experienced there was unbelievable. And it was very clear to me that there were concerted efforts from the onset of any person walking in all the way back in time to the organization's development, that we are here to serve people because everyone needs help. And that's it. And so it took one trip in, and suddenly we had some really critical outstanding bills that were paid. And we had some help with our mortgage. And we
Wow.
had a turkey that they were giving away turkeys and this huge Thanksgiving dinner. And it was this really aha moment where I think sometimes being really, really humbled really
Mm-hmm.
allows you to remember the compassion that you have for others. And it just, it was impossible to not give back. So when the opportunity arose to take a board seat or be considered for one, it was just such a great opportunity to be able to say thank you in a meaningful way.
It sounds to me like you wanted to give back to so many others, just that feeling of relief that you experienced on a real level.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it gets addicting, right? That
Yeah.
that feeling of like, oh, I want to help with that.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Selfish
yeah.
help. Really, this
Yeah,
makes me feel
right?
good. Yeah.
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 That's amazing.
But you could relate to those around you that were in need, just having been in
Absolutely.
that position.
Yeah. And it was, it was a good reminder too. I grew up pretty disadvantaged. And so remembering, I know it's probably from a show. I think it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but it's this idea of, oh, don't worry, I'm old poor. I know how to do this. And I think I'd kind of forgotten. And it's totally different. You can be poor on your own and it's just, getting by. But when you have 5 little mouths, it's
Yeah,
different.
and I
That's a good
love
point.
that you're shedding light on the scenarios that there are two working people.
Mhm.
Being poor doesn't mean you're not trying or somebody's lazy or "Oh, they're just not working hard enough." No, no, sometimes just stuff happens
Mhm.
and boilers break and a new house and all this stuff. And I love that you're shedding light on that because that's very real and that's life.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's not like you stay in that space.
Or wanted to stay
Yeah.
in that space.
Mhm.
But the fact that there are organizations out there that help with dignity
Mhm.
and say, "Hey, we got you." And just even getting your mortgage paid 1 month and a few bills with some groceries can lift and reset somebody's budget like crazy, and you can breathe.
Yes.
I mean, a boiler alone is like $10,000.
It's so much. Everything.
And you
It's so
need a
much.
boiler
Yeah.
Yep.
to live in a house, especially with
With
400
Mhm.
to 500 inches of snow that winter.
Yeah.
And that's not a choice. You have to do it.
Right.
You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Did you know about Lift Up or did you just do a
yeah.
Google
Who
search?
told you?
Just Googled it. It was,
Mhm.
I think it might have been part of my role when I was just trying to get accustomed to what all the local nonprofits were so that I could be connecting others if they needed it. And boy, it helped.
Do you guys have a lift up or something like that in Washington?
Oh, yeah. So I lived primarily in Bellingham, and that's where I was teaching up there. And so I taught human services. And so
Wow.
there were an enormous number of nonprofits that were there. It was a college town. So, you get a
Mhm.
lot of interns, kind of
Mhm.
free labor, though you're not supposed to say that. And so it was inundated. My whole work had been doing program planning and evaluation with nonprofits and helping them to either expand in the areas they're doing well or to claw back those programs that weren't effective anymore. And so from like the
Very
back end of it, understanding how nonprofits need to function gave me a huge appreciation for how Lift Up functions as a nonprofit as well. They've got, that concept of a double bottom line where you've got, fiscal accountability and sustainability. And then you also have that heart and mission and making an impact. And they walk that perfectly. They balance it perfectly. And it's not typical for nonprofit organizations to be around as long as that, as
Mhm.
Lift Up has been around. And, if the model of a successful business is 5 years, or more to say, okay,
Mhm.
we've got our feet under us, for a nonprofit to be that successful really shows that it's not just the heart at work. It's also the understanding that we need to be responsible with our money and we need to be able to use this to have the greatest impact we possibly can. And it was a wonderful surprise to encounter so much goodness and positivity when we were really having one of the hardest times of our lives.
What would you say is the I guess type of people that come in, the type of help they are needing with lift up? Like maybe you can explain all the things that you help with.
Oh,
Yeah, because it's not just
absolutely.
food,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah, it's not. And so Lift Up has a ton of really great programs. And so there is, of course, the food bank. The food
Mhm.
bank includes a front area where it's grab and go. So you don't need to be signed up. You don't need to show ID. You don't need to do anything.
I need to
but walk
remember
in.
that because so many people have told me amazing things about that. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of things is that then?
Well, it's usually like through the grocery give back program, right? So you might have cake pops from Starbucks. You might have, sandwiches from the deli at City Market or
Oh,
Safeway.
wow. That's
And
all on the grab and go. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
No,
So
we need a huge list right now because we're going to tell everybody what to expect on the grab and goes.
yes, yeah.
You like this grab and go.
I do. I like this
It's
concept.
wonderful.
Well,
and
I've heard
it's
really
random.
good things about it. So but then I forget it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I always forget. I'm like, ooh, I should do that. And then you go on with your life. You
Yeah.
completely forget, even though I live on that side of town and ski church is right there next to it. So it's
Uh-huh.
like, why aren't I doing that?
Yep.
Why
and
aren't we doing that more?
I think a lot of people may not know about it, and it's
Yeah,
nice
I didn't know
too.
about that.
Yeah, because you don't have to go in and prove anything. You're a human and you're hungry and you get to eat, and there's no strings attached. And then with the food bank, they've set it up so it's very much like just a grocery store experience. So when I had to go with a couple of the kiddos, you always have that parental apprehension. Like, are you going to internalize this? You're going to think that we are insufficient. Like, is this going to be awkward, embarrassing? Not at all. They, I think 2 of them went with me twice. And they thought it was super fun to try and remember points and add things up. And like, were shocked when you didn't have to exchange money. But they've never, I still think I've been serving with Lift Up since, just a little after we got here and got back on our feet. I don't think any of the kids realized that it was a food bank. Like, they just thought, oh, that's the fun store because we go to the thrift
That's
store
the fun
too.
food store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And
That's cool.
the thrift store too, that's the biggest revenue earner for Lift Up is donations that come in and get, carefully sorted. And all of that stuff on the floor goes right back into delivering the mission. And it's a really sustainable funding model to have that kind of innovative practice where you have that earned income revenue stream, because nonprofits are in the business of not making money.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's a
yep.
that's a
Yeah.
really good point. Like
Mhm.
that you have something that's constantly coming in. You may not know how much you're going to be bringing in each month, but you're having constant revenue.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. And it supports a lot of the other programs as well. There's also a Hope for the Future scholarship, which is for traditional and non-traditional learners. So anyone that's going to, career technical education, maybe we've had a couple of successful applicants that are now continuing on to like master's degree programs. And it's, it's not a huge amount, but it's some. And so there's that scholarship program. And then there's also a lot of the services that they have case managers there for. And so those will be the varied services like, do you need medical bill assistance? Do you need rental assistance, down payment assistance? So there can be some very practical, just financially oriented services. And then there's also help with application to like SNAP benefits, working very closely like with DHS to make sure that we're capturing as many eligible people as possible and making it simpler.
So you have caseworkers on site that actually help people walk through that process of getting signed up.
Yeah. Yep. They
That's
are
great.
Lift Up employees. They're wonderful.
And in Spanish speaking as well?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So
That's very helpful.
it's super
Yeah.
helpful. And
Good to
a
know.
lot of efforts made to make sure that there's no language barriers, that there's no fear or apprehension. They have proxy shoppers that are available. So if someone is undocumented, for example, and really struggling and they feel uncomfortable going out, because that's been kind of the nature of what's happening, for the past several months, or perhaps you're homebound if you've got, some chronic diseases or something like that. So a proxy shopper is somebody that is eligible to be able to go and pick up your groceries for you so that you don't have that barrier to having food as well.
That is
So
great.
Yeah, that's
it's really
amazing.
nice. Yeah.
And how do you guys advertise as far as like what you offer to the community?
So Lift Up has pretty active social media efforts lately to be on WhatsApp as well, because we've noticed a lot of our immigrant communities are using WhatsApp because it's just easier internationally.
I didn't know you could advertise on WhatsApp.
I didn't either.
What?
I don't know how they do it,
Okay.
but I know they do it, and I think it might
Okay.
be a communication. So if somebody's
Yeah.
on like we've signed up for a newsletter similar to that,
Yeah.
and so
Okay.
they can do notifications.
Oh,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
we always learn new stuff
We
on
do.
this.
We
So
do.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, me too. I'm very unfamiliar with all of the ins and outs of social media, but I know that it's been a wonderful way to reach people where they're at.
Yeah.
And so I think recently they've also made some efforts to bring on more of a communications role. And so this individual is able to do a lot more work on just promoting the mission, being able to give updates, particularly like around the capital campaign. So just trying to keep communication always going and not inundating, but making it useful and
Yeah.
trying to get as many people as possible.
That's wonderful.
What are
Yeah.
some of your fundraisers that you do?
So we recently did for the capital campaign, which is it's a $5 million, basically it will double the space of Lift Up, which is incredibly necessary. The
Mhm.
need keeps going up and the space is remaining the same.
Mm-hmm.
So someone very, very generously did a $2.5 million match.
Dang.
So anonymous donor,
Wow.
thank you. And so now it's up to us to get the
Wow.
rest of that 2.5 and really, really make this something that moves along quickly, doesn't stagnate, meets the needs. And this community is generous. It's
Mhm.
hard to live here, but people also know that. And if you have resources, it's really, really positive to have an organization you know will manage your money well and funnel it to the mission. So
Absolutely.
I will say that one of the last events was at Snowball. And so there was like a concert and it was all to benefit Lift Up. And they were just such generous hosts and just really, really aligned with the mindset of we're a community and we help each other out. So that Snowball event was fantastic. And then we just continued to do our traditional fundraising efforts, but we're being very mindful of just the overall financial climate right now around food security is really uncertain.
Yeah.
And it was just late last year that we saw that potential SNAP benefit disruption. Lots and lots of people who are relying on food assistance were potentially faced with it won't be on your card.
Right.
And for families that are really relying on the small amount that's provided, but it's something that would have meant that people were not eating. So from the DHS perspective, the idea was we can't let this happen. So the county was really, really responsive, and we were able to make sure we had some grocery cards that were available so we could match the amounts that would have been missed. And one of the approaches we had considered was, would Lift Up be able to provide more? And it wasn't a situation of, no, we won't, or the logistics are too much. It was just constraints on space. So we wouldn't even if we had all the money and all the staff,
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't have room on the shelves for the food.
Right.
So it just really highlighted the need for that expanded space.
Yeah. And you're right about the serving with dignity. And I was a single mom and I had been working, but still living in this town and just needing that little bit of,
Lift Up.
you lift up. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's true. They do. That's exactly what they do. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I think more countries should have programs like this. I just got back from Cuba, so going hungry is a real thing there, like a real thing. And I say real because there is no reprieve like this.
Yeah.
So I'm just really grateful that we have this, and we have this in our small little town, little town that we don't have much, like as far as like affordability, but
Yeah.
we do have Lift Up, so that's good.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, there are a lot of considerations when people are needing help in areas like this. We are rural, we are remote. It may not feel like that all the time to people accustomed to being here, but we are far from everything. And that includes all of the other support services you might need. When you look at how often people are in need of mental health services, how often people are in need of addiction recovery services, we don't have a detox, we don't have a respite, and we can't really pencil that out because the population density and the utilization wouldn't actually be sufficient to have sustainable funding for it, right? So we're limited in the resources that we can refer people to, and I think that is the mindset that Lift Up has maintained is we know there are gaps, and we know people deserve to live here if they want to. And so we're going to do our best to fill those gaps. And I think it's a thoughtful way of approaching resource scarcity.
Amen, sister. Love it. Okay, but go ahead.
Well, you were talking about being in other roles in
That's
this
what I was just
community.
gonna say.
Yes.
We're so into. I was gonna say that's not your day job though, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is your day job?
So my day job, I'm typically the assistant county manager. The assistant county manager position opened up about 2 years after we'd gotten here, and just kind of looked at it and went, this is CSU Extension was very fun. And it was all the fun things, right? It was all about community education, and, you got to do classes and interact with kids all the time. But when I looked at the position with the county, it's like, okay, well, this is similar to what I've done in other contexts, and it's not really affordable here. And so if I have the chance to have something that pays a little more and I would enjoy doing it, okay, we'll just throw my hat in the ring, and was very, very lucky to be selected. But right now I'm also the interim Department of Human Services director for the county as well. So we're in a couple of hats.
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wear a couple of hats too.
Yeah.
So how do you juggle that with your husband and 5 kids?
Yeah. I think that I enjoy being challenged and busy.
Mm.
And I enjoy it the most when it means something. And so my family means everything. And I really love my job. My jobs. I really do have a service heart. I feel best. I feel selfishly really good, when you can be in spaces to make things a little bit better than when you found them. So with Lift Up, that's just a pleasure. It really is.
Can you tell us what's one thing that you regularly do to take care of your mental health?
I write.
Good.
You write.
As a journal or
Yeah.
like for fun?
All of it. I love to research and write. My academic background is in crisis intervention and trauma mitigation strategies. So,
Wait, repeat that?
crisis intervention trauma mitigation strategies.
Oh yeah, just for fun.
Yeah.
So how
Just
does
something
that
light.
like come out on paper if you're saying that's your background?
I know. How is
Yeah.
your background? Did you study that?
And how does
Like,
that
yeah.
relate to
We have so many
writing?
questions.
What are you writing that's
Yeah.
related to
So
that?
many questions here.
Oh gosh, I feel like I chronically write. I think it's pleasurable for me to identify complex problems and then try to kind of disaggregate them and find different ways of communicating it, because I think everything is learnable, and I think most people are eager to learn and they want to have a better approach to having a happy life. And so when I had started out in human services, as I said, but that was my undergraduate degree, and then thought, I feel like these systems could be better. And it feels very much like human services and social work have some differences. And I would like to see it be more of an effort to help people be lifted up and find their own self-efficacy through challenge. And so that kind of led me to, well, maybe I should think about how to teach this. Like, because if we're going to have human services professionals, they should be prepared to not work in broken systems, but work within them to repair them. And so went on to get my graduate degree in adult education, and then from there started looking at all the ways that impact learning. And as odd of a connection as it seems, there was a lot of executive dysfunction, right? So like ADHD, ADD, some of compulsive disorders. And it just seemed to be very obvious to me that the young adults that I was working with that struggled with those issues all seemed to have histories of trauma. And so I got very, very curious, and then decided to try and understand how trauma impacts our ability to have a healthy life, and how to learn. And so last year I wrapped up my doctorate in psychology just to kind of examine those correlations. And so I think
Wait, you're a doctor?
Not a medical one. So
No.
if you have a problem, I can
But
help you
you're-
think about it.
Yeah, no, this is amazing.
Yeah, guys,
my
we
gosh.
have the coolest chick on today, and we didn't even know.
We didn't even know it. You
This
guys are
is
finding out with
awesome.
us.
Yes.
It just keeps getting like better
Yeah.
and better and better. Dang.
You are so cool.
Oh,
yeah,
thank
you are.
It's a selfish pursuit. I feel like it's good to know the best approach for every individual, just for yourself to be able to have a healthy life. But also, I think most people already have an innate sense of what it means to be well.
Mhm.
And we get inundated with a lot of feedback that says, well, no, that won't make you happy. This will make you happy.
Mhm.
And so I really like just that kind of humanistic perspective of exploring how people can find that healing inside of them to go, I think that if I can make these adjustments, then systemically everything on the outside is going to fall into place. And like, just to loop it back to Lift Up, I think that's kind of what Lift Up is in the business of doing,
Mhm.
is how do we help you enough for you to have the space to be able to go internal, to make those changes and feel less stressed and be able to breathe and know that you are cared for. And then that comes out in your everyday life. And obviously I'm biased, but I just can't say enough good things about how they help people help themselves.
I love this. This is just better and better. I think that we're very interested always in every aspect of mental health and well-being, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I would love to have you on just to kind of pick your brain about.
You could share your stories with us.
Yeah.
I would
Yes.
love that.
Are you
Mhm.
going to get any of
that.
them published? You are, huh?
So I do. I've written a couple books.
Of course you did.
Yep,
She did.
One of them was from my doctoral research, though. So it was
Right. You
just
have to get published.
exactly.
Mhm.
And no one wants to read dry academic papers, and that
Yeah.
doesn't do any good. If the intention is to
Mhm.
put something new into the field, then why is it behind a paywall and written in the most boring possible
Mhm.
format?
Right.
So the decision to write a book based on the research was to capture the human stories from just people who were 6 or more months post psychedelic assisted therapy, specifically to address issues of trauma. So looking at just the question never gets asked, what's your life like now? It's always, well, let's look at the neurobiological impacts, or let's look at, a variety of other metrics, but we never actually sit and ask people, tell me who you were, and then tell me what you did, and now tell me who you are.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
basics.
And that's, to me, the most compelling story for wellness is just
Yeah.
kind of learning how people did it for themselves.
So, when someone comes to you guys, what's the process? What's the criteria that they have to meet, and what process do they have to walk through in order to get these needs met?
Yeah. So the intention is to keep it as streamlined and unstressful as possible, because if you're coming in, you're probably stressed.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you can call, you can email, you can walk in, and they'll guide you through the process. Typically, you'll have a case manager that will help you, and they'll be your point of contact. To be eligible for Lift Up services, you need to be at 300% of the federal poverty level or below, which seems like that's a really generous amount to be eligible. And the intention is it's necessary.
Explain that. You just lost me at 300%
300% of the poverty level. Yeah.
So give me a numbers example.
So if you, so FPL, or the federal poverty level, is what the Fed state is. If you live at this or below, you are considered to be in poverty. And so
let's say roughly
I think it's
$10,000.
I think it's like $32,000
Okay, let's
for
go-
one person household.
Okay, so let's say $30,000. So you can make up to 300% over that to be considered for one of your programs.
But the nice thing is, on Lift Up's website, they have the breakdown where it'll say, and I think I said one person, I meant 2-person family for that, 32,000.
Yeah.
But they have a breakdown. So they'll go, is it just you? This is the level. If this is 2 people, 5 people, whoever is in your household, and that will increase that that number. So on their website, you can just immediately see, okay, well, I have 4 people. Okay, we qualify.
Okay.
Okay,
That's good. That's a good
Mhm.
way to just go to the website, plug in your information,
Yeah.
and see.
Yeah, and they just have it standing because the FPL is just set by the feds. It's
Okay.
ridiculously low. It's similar. I'd equate it to minimum wage. No
Mhm.
one's going to live on that.
No.
And so I think here in Routt County, despite all of our wealth, Lift Up serves 1 in 7 people here. Like, that's a lot.
That is a
Mhm.
lot. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So even if, excluding people who haven't applied for services, that means that at least 1 in 7 people in Routt County are eligible for Lift Up services. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
it is. It
Yeah.
is. And so you go in, and then the caseworker will go over some of the needs that you have. And so that will mean that you'll be asked for, can you show us those bills that you would like help with? And there's going to be some information gathering on just income levels and household members. Typically, it's a very, very smooth and quick process. Often people don't have a lot of that information just ready to go.
Right.
And
That's what I
so
was
there's
thinking. Yeah.
And if you're struggling, you're in crisis, you're not thinking, oh, I know exactly where I filed my tax return. And so they are really, really good about, whether it's in person or just via email or phone, going back and forth and saying, okay, these are the things we'll need. And it's not as exhaustive as you'd think. It's a lot easier than most programs, and certainly easier than any state or federal programs.
Yeah.
And
Imagine.
they go through and they say, okay, this is what we're able to help with. And so in my example, when we had, outstanding bills, it's not just here's some money. It's, okay, we're going to contact this person, and then they help with kind of triangulating that. And then the payment goes directly to the bill issuer.
Mhm.
So
That's
there's
amazing.
exactly.
Great.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of comfort for donors and
It
other
is. Yeah.
philanthropic sources to know that they're not just having their money
Given out.
And it doesn't take long. I think that we had, for the food bank, that's immediate. It's very, very quick. There's some income eligibility verification. And then when you come in, if you get 2 produce shops every month. And so that means you get fresh fruits and vegetables, and you can come in and get those more frequently than your once monthly shop. And then they'll say, based on your household, how many points. And so all of the food items are marked with how many points they are. And so you can go in, you can use up, all of your points. I think a lot of people, I've observed this, and I've also heard this, and I also did this, but people being who they are, if you don't use all your points, I've never seen anyone go, well, I'll just grab these things then. Everyone ends up going, oh, I don't want to take it from someone who might need it.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of that just like communal sense when you go through, and
Wow.
it's really wonderful. And then other programs like Hope for the Future scholarships, those have just a regular application that's, I think it's actually out and active right now. That's just the same as any scholarship
On the email.
application.
That's available on your website.
The website?
Sorry.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So it sounds like the website's a place to go. Is it also the place to go if people in the community want to donate towards Lift Up?
Yes. Website's the
Awesome.
best. You can also call a ton of people who'd be able to route you or answer your question, but the website is a great place to be able to donate. There's also other opportunities too, like City Market, for example, has a program where if you basically register your regular City Market card to Lift Up, they have a nonprofit giving feature. And so when there's, dollars and cents that are savings from your card, it's a program that I think it's Kroger that does it, the overarching company. But what that does is that takes those little bits of money, and then multiple people do it. And then that becomes a donation to Lift Up when all of that is added up. I believe
That's
monthly.
amazing.
So that's another way to give as well, and you won't even notice. The capital campaign, there's definitely information on the website, and that's a full-on campaign. And there's a donor development staff member that is in charge of that. There's fundraising, there's all of that stuff. So a lot of that is available on the website. And then there's also updates that go out on social media.
You were saying that you partner with other nonprofit organizations. Can you just highlight on that?
I would say primarily that looks like, for example, the municipalities. So in South Route, and there's in Yampa and Oak Creek, there are little food pantries. And so Lift Up helps to set up those little food pantries. And so we're not running them necessarily, but we are collaborating with those towns to
That's
be able to have
great.
that. There's also a food bank location, satellite location in Oak Creek as well. And then there's partnership with, Heart of Steamboat, a lot of faith-based organizations where they do meals. They Lift Up also does Rocket Pack. So all the snacks that kids get in all of the schools, those come from Lift Up.
Wow.
So, and there's also
That's huge.
summer feeding programs as well. Just
Wow.
knowing a lot of kids.
And Boys and Girls Club, you were saying too, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Boys and Girls Club. And so if you are a nonprofit and you are serving people in your nonprofit specifically, then that's an opportunity to partner with Lift Up to make sure we're getting food into hungry bellies, even if they're being
I'm
served.
going to be taking advantage of that on behalf of
Good.
Skate Church
There you
because
go.
that is an amazing. I didn't realize you guys did that. And like Skate Church is a nonprofit and we feed bellies. And actually, I was just doing an interview with some of our middle schoolers the other day just to see what they thought about Skate Church, what it means to them, what it would mean if Skate Church was no longer around. And our middle schoolers, of course, were like, and we just love the food, and it's just so cool because there is something about food, right?
It's communal and it's connecting. And, a lot of people that go for hot meals, whether it's Council on Aging, I believe it is called SOAR now. I apologize. I know that changed over. But it's also an opportunity to connect and talk to other people, even if maybe you're not hungry at the time, but it's
community.
Exactly. And if you are hungry, I mean, especially for kiddos in school, you can't do anything thoughtful if you're hungry. It's like having to pee all the time. That's the only thing you're thinking about.
That's true.
And so if you can meet those basic needs first, then you can do all the other
We're
stuff.
going to end on that.
I appreciate you coming on and sharing. I feel like Lift Up is I know Lift Up is a huge part of our community.
Yeah.
And you and all that you do in our community, you are a huge part of that as well. So thank you for all that you do. And thank you for sharing more about Lift Up.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to.
And we're going to be
Appreciate it.
having Sue, who is the executive director of Lift Up, on in either next time or in the next couple times. And she'll be talking about the initiative and the expansion and all. And so we'll be able to get a lot more from Sue as well.
Yeah, it'll be a
thanks.
good full circle. Were there any community upcoming announcements you needed to make?
Yes, just that Skate Church will be having a huge fundraiser May 2nd. It is time. And we've been spending this whole last year just rebuilding the programs and expanding the programs and just bringing it back to life. And it's been beautiful. And we just had our first birthday party last weekend because we're opening it to birthday parties. And it was just so much fun. So I'm just excited to partner with the Phoenix and Health Partnership to do a huge fundraiser at the Skate Church building. So you guys will be hearing more of that. And of course, I'll be having it all over social media. So.
And we have the coolest community. We really do. I mean, we're talking about all these different organizations coming together to help serve this community.
It's time.
So go team.
Yay. Thanks, everyone. Have a blessed day.